Currently, as many of you already know, the new bill is being debated in the Nigerian Senate. The bill was proposed that anyone found guilty of any form of hate speech that results in the death of another person will be sentenced to hanging. According to the report, the bill, which is being sponsored by Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, the Senate's spokesperson seeks the establishment of an independent national commission for hate speeches, goodness, which shall then enforce hate speech laws across the country, ensure the elimination of menace, and advise the federal government in hate speech issues. Is hate speech really worth the penalty, death penalty? We have with us Honorable Princess Fola Shade, who is a political analyst on this show. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you.
Great to have you again.
Yeah. So before we come to you, before you hear your views, let me hear the ladies' views on this matter, because I know everybody's talking about it. Initially people forgot to add the part of that leads to death. They just said hate speech leads to hanging, hate speech, and everybody just went all crazy on social media. But you reading the bill, understanding the bill, what do you think of your views? Let me start with this. Talk about Jumoke.
I've read the bill, right. And all that comes across to me is, I remember the last administration, all of us called them all sorts of names, and we didn't have such a bill. Now, rightly put, if I say Hausa, because that bill says gender, ethnicity,
religion. Let me define what that hate speech will say. That hate speech, hate speech is anything that demeans a person based on their qualifiers: ethnicity, gender, religion, and maybe your choice or whatever it is. But it's those three things were there.
Yeah. So, and I agree. If I say that Hausa youth,
try Yoruba.
Yoruba youth, yes, who support the president are all stupid.
Right.
Because I've put their ethnicity, and it's not every Yoruba youth that supports the president. Right. Somebody may come at me and we may cause a war just because of that statement, right? But if whatever your opinion is based on facts, has the president gone to Dapchi? No. If I now state my opinion and say that is very insensitive, you cannot call it hate speech.
I'm not sure that they've not given us a definition. They've not given us a definition, so we don't even know if that's hate speech. But we're not sure. Yes,
you said, what did we understand from it? That from it, there was nothing to understand from it. It was half-baked at its best. Yeah. There was nothing concrete about it. It's like when they say the rules for impeachment is gross misconduct. Gross misconduct can be termed anything and be abused in any way by whoever. Once you can get a consensus on an agreement that we want to call this thing gross misconduct so that we can impeach this person, that will be agreed. So somebody can say that I want to call this speech hate speech, and you get people to agree, and the person might be sentenced. So my issue is,
define it.
We must define it well. We might have good intentions.
It's being debated, so hopefully we get the definition. Let me hear your own views on it, and I'll come back to you.
But going further, I think the bill also said anything that incites people, anything you say that incites people to violence. And that, as we're already discussing, is just so ambiguous. There's so many things that you say that incites people to violence, even more than hate speech.
Just regular talking.
Just regular talking. Other things like corruption have incited people to violence, you know. So what are we really talking about? It just seems as if government is, when you hear things like that, it's like government is far removed from the people. Things are, it's not relatable.
Talk about government far removed. Let me come to the APC member here. Do you believe that this bill was, do you think this bill was well thought out, especially considering the fact that we have freedom of speech? A lot of people feel that out there that this obviously can be a way to impede freedom of speech. Do you agree?
Well, I wouldn't want to agree with that. But the state of the nation right now, I believe the presidency just felt something needed to be done, okay? You have a cup here. It depends on the side you're looking at it from. Any good government has a right to protect lives and properties. And if you see what was going on all over the country, I know we need to go beyond all this ethnicity, religious, whatever lines, but there was some really getting to abuse, okay? Which, if we're not careful, it's like we're drumming the, you know.
Yeah. We're united, Morayo. Because if you and I fight and we abuse ourselves, you're a bitch. Or anything like that, you know, language for TV, I apologize. We are going to fight and resolve. So if we're not really united, we need to start addressing the root cause of our disunity and not pretend and continue patching it up. Now, it's not coming from the presidency as much as the National Assembly is part of the presidency. But Morayo, the bills that really concern us, they've not addressed it.
Thank you. That was exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Hinge on what she said about the state of the nation. Let's think about it.
Yes.
Because Kemi Olu lawyer was here last week, and she made a few statements. She made a few statements here that was twisted by somebody that had a laptop. Sat down and twisted what she said. She said that XYZ are drug dealers. XYZ pastors are drug dealers. She never said that. But that went viral. Everybody started talking about it. And do you know who's going to give her justice for the torture she went through the last few days? People were hanging there. People calling her from all over the world saying, why would you do this? So there's a scenario whereby people are taking advantage of this freedom that we already have. So that's the state of the nation where we need a police for that freedom we have.
That's what we have a bill that is against this already. We have whoever libel can be taken. You can be sued to court for defamation and for libel. You can be taken to court for. We have cyber crimes bill already on ground. So why do we need to set up another commission, independent commission to fight hate speech? I feel like if we really think, which I expect that when we are old enough to be in this position, we should be thinkers, people that take time to think before we just say anything. We would have come up with things that affect us more. If you take a census of what is going on in Nigeria right now, which is you do, survey what the people actually need. It is not hate speech that is killing Nigerians. It is not hate speech-inspired violence that is killing Nigerians. It is violence based on the fact that we have crises on ground. There is the Boko Haram, there is the headsmen.
So there are bigger issues
than this. So if it's about that,
but beyond the hate speech, the commission was also to take care of how to create a more enabling, environment.
I get you,
peace and harmony. Okay. Now, where you get to a level to where some national papers were actually inciting, because I'm going to use that word, and saying the president or ordered some part of the country massacre and all that. That's a time bomb right there. Okay. So creating that commission is like accepting that there's a big issue and something, a special board needed to be created to address where we are now. Because if you look, every part of the country, you see that wanting to go away or wanting to do one thing or whatever. And, people don't have choice to where they are being born. First and foremost, we are Nigerians. And that we must protect. By all means.
See, let me just take that where you say we need a commission. This is a government this is us trying to reduce the cost of governance.
Thank you.
And here we are now, we are talking about a
more
commission.
agencies.
So buildings,
and committees,
salaries, cars left and right, then the cost of prosecution. Do you understand? So what are we saying? I think that there are different ways.
Life is priceless, really, if you look at it.
Well,
I'm happy you said that. So many people that have been killed based on this same thing the past few months, then you're going to know.
If it's about
what is really killing people is not hate speech.
It is headsmen attack.
Thank you.
Now, I'm a professional journalist, and I know what the laws are that govern journalism. We have codes and ethics. A professional is supposed to just give you information that is unbiased, that is objective. So, headsmen killed 20, full stop, without their own opinion. If that is what the journalists are doing, and they're not coloring it in any way, if somebody now reads that newspaper and colors it in their own opinion, and then decide that they want to start fighting, you cannot call it hate speech. It is how people have interpreted what they read.
But
so using the example,
that can be very dangerous.
All over the world, we give facts, and when it bleeds, it leads. If it is 100 people, it may not carry as much this thing if it is 1,000.
But somebody must police that. It's like the same thing.
So we have limits also under the law of journalism. So there are things that, so you put the national interest first. But then again, you must always give the facts at all times.
I understand what she said because we've read in papers. We do every morning here. And we see the way reports is being twisted. And the headline is saying something totally different from what is inside the story. That is valid. and that issue should be dealt with professionally, because there are laws on ground that can tackle that.
Okay.
We don't need fresh laws to tackle reporting style.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we understand the criticism that have followed this proposed bill. But sometimes people feel like those of us that live in this side of town, things are smooth here. We don't understand. We're not in the war. We don't see where people are saying things to incite violence, where people are dying because somebody is stirring up violence from their speeches. So we might not appreciate the enormity of this issue called hate speech. However, in the same vein, we must also consider the fact that people are protected by law to express themselves. But let's go to the tweets and see what their views are on the tweets. Yes, Jumoke.
Shuka Victor says, after we will say we don't know how international agencies are rating us as a very corrupt country. This bill is a bed sheet for corruption. Okafor says, the hate speech bill is another tool to take down your opponent. This government is weak and insecure. Jokwandu says, it's no longer new to people like us that we are military democracy with so many arrests and impunities going on. PJ Comedian says, thank you, Jumoke. So if I make my views based on a headline, story I read on a newspaper, now hate speech.
All right, as we said, it's not been properly defined, so we don't know yet which is hate speech. Let's take this call from Wura. Wura, are you there? Thanks for calling. Hello. Oh, Nima. Jane, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
The essence and importance of this bill can only be understood when you understand the statistics of the number of people that have died as a result of hate speech.
Right.
An example would be the Kano lady who just came out and was preaching in front of and said to some people, don't pray in front of my shop. And someone said, she ate Muslims, and before you knew it, she was dead. Another statistic is currently the Fulani headsmen thing. So someone comes up and Fulani headsmen led this attack. If a crime was committed, no, people are not looking at that. They look at the fact that they just, tribalize the issue. And because of that, some Fulanis would have been killed. Some many people would have been killed. These are irresponsible statements from people abusing their freedom of speech. It is a crime, and this is a four-sided bill. Okay. For someone to sit down and look at the
Nima, don't we have laws on ground?
Let's hear it. Go ahead, please. Finish.
Someone looks at the beginning of this and whatever must have started this and sees that this is a crime, because when you allow this part, because it's socially acceptable for us in Nigeria to make statements and speeches and
all right. Thank you very much, Nima. Let me let you respond to. Yes, talk about it.
I would have loved Nima to respond to the fact that don't we already have bills, because she's a lawyer. She understands the laws on ground. Don't we have enough laws on ground that can cover this? Because I know that Nigeria isn't lacking in terms of having regulations. Okay. Our issue is usually implementation. Okay. We mentioned the reporting, and I said that have we publicly fined media agencies that have misrepresented the laws? Right. By the time we fine agencies and they pay those fines, there will be no regulation and misreporting.
Your views as a political analyst, what are your views?
Well, I think I want to toe the line of what she said, you have to be on the receiving end for you to know the gravity of what we're talking about. And you don't wait until it happens before you start to take precautions. If you looked at what happened in Rwanda, it was similar things like this. People, talking about different tribes, and before you know it, hundreds of people, thousands of people, lost their lives. Right. And we're trying to say, the unity of Nigeria, so much, it needs to be really well protected, and we must guard our terms. Forget all the sensation and drama and all that.
Folashade, the unity of Nigeria is not for you to gag me. It's for you to address the issues.
Yeah, but
like
not
that
over-abused.
Like that, I plant corn in my farm, and cattle rearers come on it and eat all my investment. Nobody says anything. Then I now say, these people are something, and then you come to arrest me for inciting speech. You have not addressed the issue. You're treating the branches and not the root. Okay. Also, I mentioned before, the laws that we have, if somebody is inciting violence, and I agree that it is possible for you to incite violence by the things that you say, as far as it is not facts, and they have a case against you, we already have laws. Okay. So if I abuse pastors, like Freeze now, are we going to set up another commission to say, if you continue abusing pastors, we don't need new commissions. Affect the existing laws.
Lead to death. So that once you say something and it doesn't lead to death, you can't lead to hanging. Let me take this call from Yakub. Yakub, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I'm there, Mariah.
Go ahead.
Because of the time, let me just go straight to the point. You see, Mariah, I'm not surprised. If you look at the person that defends this bill, Senator Sabi in person. If you look at Senator Sabi, this is a senator whereby the gentleman of the press asked him sometimes ago a question whereby, how much is your take home? And then Senator Sabi replied that he cannot tell us. And that is a civil servant, as case may be, political office holder that cannot tell Nigeria how much it is take home. But now, he sent a bill whereby if you say something, they are not telling us that it's inciting
something that leads to death.
Let me give you a typical example. For example, the guy just said something now. If you travel from Tollgate down to Ifo, the road was so bad. Assuming that they award this very particular contract to somebody, and then it's fair to do it. Are you getting it now? It's fair to do the road, and then with annoyance and anger. And I said that wherever you see this very particular person, please stone him. And then people travel from that road down to Ifo. And then people are dying on that road. And then you are not telling me that I should not say something. And then there's a lot of PID bills is down there in the ceiling.
God bless you.
To that bill. And then you are not saying that you are teaching the children. And then you are telling a child to not cry. This is rubbish. Thank you.
11 years.
So people out there feel like there are bigger issues, that this might not be. But some people feel like, listen, people are dying, that this is actually just as big. Yes. So let's bring everything to a nutshell. Like I like
okay. So you're saying if you see the contractor, stone him.
Yes.
Does that solve the problem? No. Okay.
But it will prevent another contractor. It will prevent another contractor.
No. I think we're getting it twisted here. What is important is what the bill was saying is if it leads to death.
Right.
So the hanging death sentence or whatever can be harsh, but it also says you have the penalty
5 years,
5 years or up to 10 million and all that, and when it gets to that stage, I'm sure it will be addressed.
There are many modalities to this thing that we're not taking away.
Accordingly.
So somebody makes a statement, somebody posts a tweet, somebody retweets, it goes viral, and then there's violence based on that person's tweet. How do you trace where it came from? Who's generated it? How do you verify the fact? There are many things. It's vague. Can we start prosecuting properly the things going on? You will find out that what we have on ground, some of the injustices going on are perpetrated by the government themselves who have abused power.
Like what Kemi lawyer said, imagine if she had committed suicide over the past, based on the calls. Imagine the last few days where people that have actually died because of all the calls and pressure she got from. How can you call XYZ pastor a drug dealer? And then she feels like, oh, nobody's. I'm trying to turn a new leaf. I'm trying to fix this
right.
And
so I agree. That is right. That is right. But we have laws on ground that prosecute people.
That's why we take this call. Let me take this call.
We have laws. Just use it.
Go ahead.
Yes, I want to ask you, because your guest is trying to defend this bill. So I want to ask, is this bill, is it the interest of APC or is it the interest of Nigerians? And again,
question, sir.
and again, the person that sponsored this bill cannot even go to his constituency and talk to his people, because the last time he went there, he was about to stone.
Yes, I remember.
He cannot even go to his constituency and talk together with he's supposed to consult his people.
All right. Thank you very much, Amos.
This is what is
and I think until we see beyond party, religion, I've said something, all you can pick out is that I'm an APC member. No apologies for that, okay? But what I'm trying to say is something that affects us all as Nigerians, okay? And the life of every Nigerian is very precious. Any good government will do anything to protect that.
We agree.
See, I agree that the hate speech has different sorts of consequences, and it can lead to death, and it has caused a lot of wars all over the world. But you know what even worries me most is the system that we have in Nigeria, where, for example, we have our guest that came on last week, who when we sat down with her and we spoke with her, by the end of the interview, a lot of people thought that she was unlawfully incarcerated. That is just for you know, she said something, and now we're asking of capital punishment. This is a system already that does not, you know, you do not prosecute people that are meant to be prosecuted. The VP said that this is the same as terrorism. I agree, it is the same as terrorism. But do you know what is even more close to terrorism? Corruption. Monies, remember, that was slated to fight Boko Haram. What happened to it? We heard the stories of how people, you know, shared these things among themselves. And here we are. Today we're talking about dealing with the top instead of the root.
On your last statement, you said the life of every Nigerian is important. I take you up on that. The president hasn't visited Dapchi since we lost 110 girls. They're not lost in death, but we still haven't found them. Their parents are worried. But he was in Kano over the weekend for a wedding of somebody's daughter. There are 110 daughters of 110 families missing. I mean, the lives of those people as important. There is a freedom of information bill. I'm coming. Let me quickly finish.
I have to go on a quick break.
Okay.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Unfortunately, we can't answer the questions Jumoke asked, a really important question before the break, but we run out of time. But we have to just end the conversation here. Thank you very much, Ma, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We hope we can bring you back another time to discuss it. Hopefully, after they finish debating, we can then discuss it properly. All right, have a fabulous day. Don't forget, this segment was brought to you by Hypo. Always remember, cleanliness is next to godliness. Please keep your homes clean. And you can use Hypo as often as you want on your tables. You can mix it with water and clean the tables with it. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.